What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video. I also want to say just thank you to all the great feedback on the other stuff we've been doing. It means a lot to us and just what we're doing here. Today, I have a very special treat for you. I have two of my favorite songwriters here with us. This is Matt Nichols. He's working on a project here at Harbor. Just phenomenal soul, beautiful songs. I'm really thankful to know you, brother.
Thanks, man.
And over here on my right is Taryn Smith, also one of my favorite songwriters, and just like an incredible lyricist, and got a lot of good things going here. So what I wanted to do today is I wanted to play a little game where all of us had 3 questions. We dropped them in the bowl here, and we're just going to take turns answering those for you. These are kind of songwriter confessions or things that, you would want to ask a songwriter. So I've got a pressing of Rubber Soul right here just to conjure the Beatles here with us, the kings of songwriting. And we're going to take turns answering these questions. So, Taryn, would you like to do the honors?
Sir. Where does your initial inspiration for a song come from?
Kind of just living life, experiences, and then when I have lulls, I need to go do more things. I need to go experience more life, fall in love again.
Mine is not all the time, but usually it'll just be a melody that gets stuck in my head. And then I will think about an emotion or a thing or a place or a situation that melody needs to be attached to. And that's kind of like the starting point for a lot of songs.
I think I'm kind of similar in that way. Like mine will be kind of like a feeling that I have. It could be when I'm driving or something, but it's just like I feel an emotion that I got to get out. And so I'll come back and I'll sit down and write it out.
Yeah. Question number 2. What song are you most proud of?
One of the songs I'm most proud of is a song that I have written about my dad, which I have not released yet, but hopefully sometime soon I'll get that out. It's just something that I've always wanted to do, and just in respect to him. So yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, Nick, it's probably Plant Shadows that we're working on right now. Yeah, for sure. That one has just been special to me for a while. I wrote it in Alton, in one of my good friends' plant rooms.
Heck yeah.
And yeah, I'm really happy how it's turning out.
Cool. I think like the song I'm most proud of from like a technical standpoint is the song that no one's ever heard, but it's called Garden. And the reason I'm most proud of it is because it's like the most complete thought I've ever had within a song. Like you can listen to it from start to finish and there's like a real clear story. And like, so technically I'm proud of that. It's definitely not my most like song that came from within necessarily, but I'm like, oh, that's a good, well-written song. Does that make sense? Matt and Nichols, baby!
Number 3. Who is your biggest influence as a writer?
That for me is pretty easy. Bear Reinhardt of Need to Breathe and Wilder Woods. Grew up listening to him since I was probably 13. Just the way he sings and writes a song has always just hit me to the core, and that's who I inspire to be as a writer. So.
For me, most recently, Stephen Wilson Jr. kind of moved the needle for me a lot. It was just cool to hear these very, very intentional lyrics kind of infiltrate some commercial country spaces. And just the way he kind of like, there's like this like tone of darkness throughout most of it. It's very heavy, but it also is like contemplative at the same time. Like it's not just all down. Some of it is like reflective. I think it's just a cool balance. I'd love to be able to write songs like him.
Mainly tattoos on my arms. The biggest 2 have to be Gregory Alan Isaacoff and Peter Bradley Adams. Both incredible songwriters. Greg just links astronomy and landscape to a lot of his songs, and use these beautiful analogies and metaphors. And that's probably my top. If I have to choose one, definitely Gregory Alan Isaacoff for sure.
That's awesome.
Good one.
Right, number 4.
How do you balance writing and inspiration while having a day job?
I don't know who wrote that one.
Good idea. So we just talked about it. I'll go ahead. I'll go first. I think it's really hard to have to shut that off when it's time to songwrite because you're tired at the end of the day. But I think creating an environment that makes you want to create and is really important, having that place to escape from that daily work.
Nice. And I like how you talked about earlier in our other conversation, just compartmentalizing it
Yeah.
and then being able to shift between, create a flow between the two.
Me, songwriting is a discipline. As much as we'd like to romanticize about like inspiration just always finding us, you come into these seasons where it's like, man, I haven't done much of anything. So even if you're not producing, it's important to still be at the table and show up and get in that rhythm of doing it, or else you kind of lose it a little bit. But environment's really important. Like there are certain external triggers for me that set off like, oh, I'm creating now. For me, it's incense, honestly. Like when I come in here, because the studios I all came up in burned the same incense. So when I put incense on, I know, okay, it's studio time. It's time to like focus and be
Of
creative.
smell.
Yeah, I think.
The balance piece is very hard. Being able to, I need to work on the environment piece and work on the discipline piece and just have at it on a regular basis without maybe feeling that inspiration. And there's some fancy quote out there, I'm sure, about that inspiration coming to you when you're working. And I think that there's some truth to that for sure.
Absolutely. All right, number 5. What song do you wish you wrote?
I think for me, a song I always go back to is "Wicked Game" by Chris Isaac. That song is just really powerful to me, and there's just something about it that I'm like, man, I wish I would have wrote that one. I feel like I could have in the right moment, but yeah.
I mean, we mentioned some artists that are our favorite. I think I'm going back to like the 90s and before. U2, With or Without You.
Oh, that's a good
It's
one.
just
That's a
that
good one.
guitar, those electric guitars, and it kind of reminded me of this song, the way you were playing on a couple of these songs.
Oh,
we're working
yeah.
on. Great guitar work. Yeah.
I don't have a specific song, but Queen's Not at the Opera, that whole record just conceptually and the writing is like amazing. It kind of got me like into concept records a little bit. And I like the idea of like a full body of work. So that would be my answer.
Nice.
And a whole album. I don't get just
Yeah,
one song.
yeah.
It's much.
Number 6. Sad of happy songs.
Sad or happy.
Oh, look like an F.
Public schooling, brother.
Sad or happy songs? Question mark. And I've heard this a ton of times, and there's so much truth to it. It's so easy to write sad songs because we all go through so much suffering. So it's easy to link to that and use that for inspiration. Writing happy ones. I don't know that I have that many. That Amelia song is kind of happy that we've been working on. So I guess sad. If that's either or. It's sad for me, but you kind of try to be positive in life in general, and that's kind of the struggle that I've been in for a while.
It's certainly like situational and seasonal, right? And then maybe even just a certain person's disposition for expressing. Me, I tend to write happy songs or songs that kind of exude a little bit more like attitude or joy, I guess. And that's not like one's greater than, but I think I'm just always trying to find like a light within this heavy world, I guess.
I think lately I've been trying to make myself write more in the happy songs. I think it is, like you said, it's easy to go to the sad songs because everyone feels it, and like everyone feels sad at times. But I also think it's cool when you have maybe a sad lyric but a happy sounding melody. I think that can be cool too to combine. Yeah.
What number question? This is 6.
What do you recommend to someone just getting started in songwriting?
I got it. It's just start. It's like, and as long as your taste is good, you always will have something to bounce off of and not get discouraged because your first like 50 songs are going to be terrible. But as long as your taste is good, you can always kind of weigh what you wrote versus what is good. And then it's cool to see progress going in there. So it's like, if you got something to say, just say it. Don't get too cute with trying to be clever and trying to like be uber creative. Like, just learn how to say what you're thinking within a song, and then eventually you'll know the right time when it's like, okay, I can branch out a little bit. I can study other songwriters and incorporate that into what I'm doing. But just starting is like the biggest roadblock for 99% of people.
I like that advice.
Mm-hmm.
Would, as far as the taste goes, listening. I mean, you have to start there, right? And what we have, there's so much out there to listen to. So it's, yeah, I mean, I'd start with just listening, and then go to the part where, just doing, learning some chords, or if you're, playing guitar or piano, and just exactly
Be a student, basically.
Yeah, for sure. And just put it down on paper, and you've got to start somewhere with a couple chords and see where you go, and grow from there.
Don't be afraid to change along the way too, because you're not always going to be who you start out as either. Like, sometimes it takes time to find who you are, and once you do, like, be very, definitive about who you are and stand out in that way of like, you can pick from inspirations, but like, you as a songwriter, like, don't be afraid to stand out in certain ways, and sometimes that takes time to figure out. So
Right. Number 9. Is your writing for you or the audience? There's a sub-question to this. Is art complete without an audience? Making you think a little bit.
I think you need, not need, but I feel like I grew when I heard this to just make art for art's sake. Not really worrying about how you're going to package it up and try to sell it. I mean, that's not, I mean, obviously people write for that reason, but in the most genuine way, I think it does start with you. Like, you have to be impressed by it, right? Yeah. I think that's definitely my answer.
You got to believe in it if other people are going to believe in it. So I think it does start with yourself. And I mean, I mean, I'm sure there's tons of songs we've never heard by our favorite songwriters, that they've kept for themselves too, and
deep in the archives.
Yeah.
There's like a part of my brain that wants to answer this from like a straight business standpoint, and that's just kind of how just kind of how I'm wired a little bit too, is like thinking about where it's going. But there's also a very real part of me that like understands and needs like expression through this medium. I always have like the full kind of picture, like the dichotomy of like, it's like you create something, but if no one else experiences it, then the whole project isn't complete. And that's like a delicate thing, and honestly a pretty like lofty concept. So I definitely tend to write songs like for a purpose, like 90% of the time. Like, I want to either build the catalog, or I want to say something that I think needs to be heard. But then there's that last 10% that's like, this one's just for me, or like, I feel like writing about my grandfather today, or whatever. So it definitely leans towards, I want this to be heard and experienced with other people. But then there's that small portion that's just for little old Nikki B here.
Number 10. How do your influences play into your writing?
I mean, they play a lot into it as far as like structuring a song, and then vocally where I go, the habits I've formed, good or bad. But I think definitely plays into every song, especially what I'm listening to recently. Will definitely have an effect. So sometimes if I'm like, I need to write like an older style country song, then that's all I'll listen to is old country music for a while, just to get into that mindset and into that feeling inside. So it's like second nature. So
I like that quote that's like, the best artists are thieves. And like, it's a bit tongue in cheek, but it is true. It's like, there's nothing wrong with like absorbing, influences, and then, that gets projected into your work, because there's so much great music that's already been written and is already out there. And it's like, no matter how hard you try, it's like you're not going to always be able to reinvent the wheel. Like, sometimes you may strike gold on something, and that's cool, but I think it's a beautiful thing when there's an influence of this and an influence of this and an influence of this, and you're kind of a byproduct of like your musical environment, to kind of create a sound or a voice. But then that paired with like I can never say something the way you say it or the way you say it. So it's like finding your voice, in the middle of like what you're being influenced by. You know?
And then that uniqueness is going to shine through
Totally.
as your own. Yeah. Mainly it's going to be in sonic landscapes of different instrumentation. I'll start with something there that I could definitely see that I pulled from wherever, and then like you said, you add your uniqueness to that, and then it kind of blooms into something new that is both of yours in a way, and that's definitely how we're all growing to new places.
Yeah. I think we only had 9 questions.
I know. And then we said,
You laughed at me.
it was
about-
7.
No one
we went
e-
7 to.
No one ever said that musicians are intelligent, okay, or that we're good at math. What's the left side, right side brain? We're using whatever the creative side
right
is.
side.
Yes,
Right side.
the right side. I love conversations like this. It's so fun to get people's perspectives who are writers, and just to kind of learn about their experiences and what they're going through, and kind of absorb it into your own. I think there's a lot of key takeaways in conversations like these. It's like, 1, be a student of writing. 2, just start and just do it. And 3, like, whatever it takes for you to be able to find your voice, whether it's writing a bunch of songs or whether it's like self-reflection or like I got to get in this certain environment to write these songs. I think this is going to sound a little corny, but like, there's room in this world for more voices. And so if you're someone who's been like wanting to write songs, like, don't let anything stop you from doing that. Like, I would love to hear what you have to say. I would love to hear what you have to say. That's the beautiful thing about music and art is there's always room for more. So thank you so much. If you've stuck around for this long, I really appreciate it. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we will see you back in the next video. Peace.